For some of us, the story of our life is very public. Everybody knows about it. And yet, for some of us, the story of our life is very private. And we don't share it with very many people, if any. Tonight, my hope is that our guest will encourage you that no matter where you are on your journey in life, that you would know that there's hope no matter what you're going through. And I'm so glad, Lana, that you could come and join us tonight. I really count it a privilege to be able to talk to you, actually. I really do. So can you introduce yourself and give us your full name?
Full name?
Yeah. I know you as Lana, okay?
Yeah. It's just that people don't call me by the full name. It's
Right.
Adelano.
Delano.
Adeleye Olushai. Because the name, each of them is actually a sentence. And I'm married to Alero, and actually this is our 30th year. So in 3 months, we'll be 30 years.
Wow, 30 years of marriage.
Yes, and we have 3 kids. And I hope I have time to share the testimony of our kids. The first one, 25, and that's Damilola. The second one is Tomi. Dami is a girl. Tomi is a girl.
Yeah,
Tomi is 23 now, and Demilade is 21.
right.
And I'd like to state clearly, really, that for us, Winnipeg is home.
Okay.
Though we're of Nigerian descent or heritage,
Yes.
that's the way we see it. Because where your heart is, that is what you call your home. And we've had the privilege of being part of Soul since January 2008. So it's been quite a journey. So we should be getting long service award. For 12
Okay,
years.
I'll note that. I'll make a note.
It's quite interesting. I would really like to talk about the impact that Soul had made, because a lot of people don't know. I met Jerry while I was in Providence. He just came to speak to us, and I liked the way he spoke about ministry. So I asked him, "What's it all about?" Then he shared his dissertation with me, which was basically what he used to start Soul, and I
Right.
really liked that. And from that time, we really connected. And so major decisions that I made actually had come to him to the point I said, "But I'm not your general superintendent. Why are you coming to me and not going to the superintendent?" I said, "But I feel free with you to be able to express myself." So
Yes.
it's been, I would say, mutual one. So when you're talking about honor, when Jerry is into something, for me, I see it as my duty to be there for him, because he's been there also for me.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. I mean, isn't that how community should
Yeah.
be, right?
Yeah.
Love it. Okay, and how long have you been in Canada?
I came in 2003.
Okay.
My family came in 2004.
Can you tell me a little bit about that? So 2003, you paved the way?
Yeah. So the story is like this. I started off in ministry as a volunteer worker in Nigeria.
Okay.
And at a point, I had this feeling that I should go to Bible college, because I thought they would teach me the Bible, that you
Okay.
go through the Bible
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
So I got in and I realized that, no, it's not like that. There's this theology, that theology. And I suddenly took an interest in the fact that the people that were teaching us didn't really study theology. All of them had first degrees just like everybody else, and they just took an interest. And I felt that, what will I give to the next generation? So I decided that, okay, I'm going to study more
Okay.
so that I can be in a position to teach.
Okay. Yeah.
So that led me into a seminary of Assemblies of God
Oh, okay.
in Nigeria. So I went in there to do a Master's of Arts in Church Administration. And the location was about 1,000 kilometers away from home. So we go on a modular basis and
Wow.
then come back home.
That's far.
Yeah. It's
Away
far.
from your family.
Oh, yeah. So, but the way they structured it well, so you could combine it with your work. I was already in ministry, so I did that. And when I completed it, I just felt, oh, maybe I should do a doctoral ministry. Then the question is, where do you go for that? The third one, Canada. Till now, I don't like air conditioners, but I survived the winter. So I actually came over on a leave of absence for 4 years.
Wow. Okay.
So, but after they arrived, 6 months after, we said, should we stay after I'm done, or should we go back?
Yeah.
Then And Alero said, yeah, we can stay.
Alero
so we then
said,
decided,
Alero,
okay.
your wife said,
Yeah.
let's stay.
So we then decided
Yeah.
to stay.
How's faith affected your personal life?
Okay. The way it has affected me, it started a long time ago. We had an old boys association, and by that time I had become a Christian. And there was a Muslim in our midst. And there were things that we're doing. And the guy said, and you call yourself a Christian? And I said, okay. So what do you mean? He said, if you're a Christian, there are certain things you shouldn't do. This is a Muslim telling the rest of us. Mm-hmm. And I said, okay, fine. You know what? If my behavior is going to stop you from becoming a Christian, I think I need to make some changes. So I'm going to change. So what it did to me was that it made it clear to me that I'm like a kind of a letter written by God. And people are going to look at me, and whatever I do, they will measure it with the expectation of who a Christian should be. So I started adjusting. So that affected me a lot in whatever I do. So I want to be held to my word. If I say something, I want to stand by it. If it is wrong, it's because it's wrong, not because I lied. And when I go into a workplace, I want to be the best in what I do, because I don't want the situation for anybody to say, and he calls himself a Christian. Look at the kind of work he's doing. Look at the way he's behaving. So that is like, I got people around me to check. So that's the way I would look at it. So I think it has helped me over time in terms of my attitude to life. Also, because when we talk about some people, this is what some people have told me. How do you, they say you have a calming presence. You are not easily flustered and so on about situations. And they wonder why. And I just tell them the only reason I can say it is because of the confidence I have in God. You're aware of the situation that happened in respect of COVID and all of that.
Yes.
And in the organization I'm involved with, we had to go through a very tough time.
Yes.
So, and the question is, how do you cope with all of that? And they will ask at meetings. And I'll say, guys, I don't drink. So that's not where I'm going to find my comfort. So how do you survive this? And every day you wake up and you're on the go. So I said, it's not a cliche. I pray. And when I pray, I just tell God, I'm going to sleep. Just give me the peace. Give me the wisdom that I need for the next day. And by the time I wake up, I'm refreshed.
So I'm getting from you that your yes is your yes, your no is your no.
Yeah.
I'm getting from you that you do things with excellence, really. You
strive to.
You strive to do with excellence.
Yeah, because it's not perfect every time.
Yep. Way to go, though. Because none of us are perfect.
Yeah.
But I think, it's admirable. And number 3 is that you pray, and that gives you a peace.
Yeah.
And it's a peace that passes any understanding.
Sincerely.
Right?
And when you talk about the issue of prayer, I want to put something in there, because I tell people I'm not a prayer warrior the way they say it in Pentecostal fold. Somebody that will pray for long hours and all of that. I believe in the short burst. Every little thing, just commit it.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe that we can pray no matter where we are, no matter, what our circumstances are, where we're at. And I agree with you 100%. I don't think we have to make it that we have to pray for half an hour. We can pray that too if you want.
Yeah, great.
But just in your car,
Yeah.
when you're by yourself, when you're going for a walk, whatever that looks like.
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's great.
So that's basically it. And I think God has, I would say, His grace. When things are really going bad, there's a way you can look at the other side that this is not going to overwhelm me. I'm still going to survive this. No matter how bad it is, I will survive this. So I feel that sometimes God allows us to go through things so that we can be in a position to help those that may feel weak. Why I'm mentioning that one is, one part of my life is career transition. When people are being laid off in organizations, I get paid to go there when the news is delivered. And I'm the one that will hold their hands and work with them to get back into the workforce.
Right.
So for me, when I now go into that role, I now realize, okay, if I've not gone through what they've gone through, how will I understand where they're coming from? So it's been, for me, I just see it as training ground when I go through some hard times. Yeah.
So what would you say to somebody that's watching tonight that says, man, I want to relate to what you're saying, but I'm having a really hard time with that. I'm feeling very maybe isolated. Maybe I don't feel like life is worth living. Okay. What would you say to somebody that's in that place tonight?
One, the issue of isolation, we have to deal with it first. Isolation will create more problems than even the issue on you. I recall very well, I chose deliberately when I was going through slightly hard times to seek community of people so that we can sit down and we can talk about what we are going through.
That's good, yeah.
Because if you just stay on your own, your mind will just walk all sorts of scenarios. So community is very important in whatever we do.
Right.
So whether it's church, whether it's family, people that you can open up to.
Right.
And you need to have that hope. Because when we're talking about, when we're setting this up to talk about hope, what is really hope? It's a feeling of expectation.
Yes.
That the future is going to be better.
Yes.
But you don't have a certainty. So you are dealing with a belief that something is going to happen, or you are trusting somebody to do something. So when I started thinking about it, that the belief, where is it grounded in? If it's grounded in God, then you know that you're going to get out of it. You may get out in a way that you don't expect, but it will take you out of it. It's not a matter of just repeating the Bible when we talk about you go through the waters, I'll be with you, and you go through fire and so on. Yes, he's always there. Even when you don't feel that he's there, he's there. Because sometimes it's as if he's silent and what is really going to happen. Because what I've seen over time is that the way he got me out of trouble, there is no way I could have imagined it. But if you trust him, step by step, it will pull you out.
Right. So let's say there's somebody that's going through a rough time, maybe, I don't know, maybe they've lost somebody in their life, right? They've prayed for, healing for somebody in their life, and it didn't end up the way that they thought it would end up.
Yep.
What would you say to somebody like that?
And when I look at the Bible, and I think of it this way, it says, precious in the sight of God is the death of a saint. Why is it precious? And I started thinking about when you have your children, maybe they traveled and they're coming home. There's a way you receive them. So I looked at it and I said, if it's precious in the sight of God, yes, I'm missing that person maybe for the next 50 years, but I have a chance to be with the person for longer than that. So it can be very difficult, and in terms of that kind of situation, when I had to console people with that, I just pray that God will speak to them directly.
Yeah.
Because when they're hurting, especially when they're alone, it's only God that can speak.
My sister passed in January, and at the funeral, Jerry said something, and I'm not gonna say it exactly the way it came out, but it was about a sailboat leaving one shore,
I remember,
and coming, going to the next. The other people on the other shore are like welcoming the sailboat, right?
Yes.
With people on it, and it takes me back to. I remember having a girlfriend that was going through a divorce, and it was not good. Yeah. And I remember her saying to me, as often as I've wondered and I thought, Lord, where are you in all of this? She said, I really realized that through my circumstances, I'd rather go through it with the Lord, as much as I'm disappointed, than go through it without him.
Yeah.
And she said the comfort she got in that. And in many ways, I relate to that, even in my own life. You know, I think about when I lost my mom, and when I lost my sister, when I lost Jerry and I lost our baby in third trimester. Like, those were things that I can't imagine. I mean, you feel that loss. It's human nature to feel that loss, but to feel it without having, honestly, so many times I felt like the Lord just wrapped his arms around me. Like it was like somebody just holding me.
Yeah. It's very difficult to deal with losses, and for me it's challenging speaking to people because you don't know where they are.
Right.
So I just, like you just said, feeling God, that is what I would love them to experience. Because I used to think that I'm very strong when it comes to if there's a loss or something. Lost my dad, lost my mom.
Yes.
And I go through those ceremonies, and you know, there's this mentality that you have to be strong. And I went through it strong. But when I came back from burying my mom, it didn't really dawn on me until a month after the burial, which is actually 3 months after the death. It was then everything came back to me. But all of that, what I could just feel is a sense of the peace of God and being grateful. You were talking about gratitude, that I just want to thank you for what she did.
Yeah.
So sometimes when I talk to people, I want them to think about their relationship with that person and the benefits of the relationship, the joy that they feel with that individual. Because when you remember that joy, even if you are shedding tears, it will be tears of joy, having that experience of being with them.
Right.
Because if we are talking about caring for one, I know we usually say in our place, sweet mother, and we sing all that song. But I know that without her, I'm not excluding God, but humanly possible, if not for her, all of us who are her children will not be where we are today. So when I remember that, it still comes to me. I'm talking of, well, it's just 2 years ago, 3 years ago now. But it still comes to me, and you still feel that sense of loss. But when it comes, I don't sink. I just say, I thank you for what you have used that person for in my life. So I just try to go back to God in thanksgiving for that person's life.
So what would you say to our viewers tonight? What would you like to leave them with?
One thing I would say is that there's a saying, when there's life, there's hope. The life may not be the way you think it will be, but because we are serving a God of love, the one that cares for us, he talks about the fact that he has us in the palms of his hands. So I believe he sees us every day. So he's not far away. He's present in any trouble that we find ourselves. What we need to do is move closer to him. It may seem as if he's not hearing us or we are not hearing, but he's there. You don't have to feel it. Sometimes there's this word, fake it until you feel it. No. Act in faith that he's there and he will get you out of it.
That's good.
It may take a period of time. It's not like instant coffee or whatever. It may take a period of time, but stay faithful in that you believe in him and hold him onto it. I'll close with my experience in terms of having kids. You know, I said we were married for 30 years, but we didn't have until 5 years into it. By the third year, we're not having, in our culture, by that time, it's like they write your wife off. Why are you in marriage and you can't have children? And usually they blame the woman. But in our own case, the blame is both sides. So in that situation, I had to trust God, and I prayed, and he granted me an understanding in a dream that I will have a girl. I didn't know how it was going to happen, because as per science, it's not there.
Yep.
So all I could do was just trust that word. And I wrote the scripture down, and I just kept it in my wallet. And I trusted that he would do it. There was no sign that he would do it. And I just told God that, look, if you don't even do it, that is not going to be the end of my life.
Right.
I will continue life. So for me, I just want to let people know that God is able to do it. Mm-hmm. It's something beyond science a lot of times, and that's why we call it a miracle. Because for us personally, we were told that the first one was a mistake. It cannot repeat itself.
You have 2 more kids.
Then the second one came two years after.
Yeah.
And the enemy of our souls, the devil wanted to take that because she started bleeding. And she thought she lost the kid. And I said, no. The blood has been shed once. You are not losing this kid. We had the second one. 2 years after, we had the third one. I said, we need to start planning. I want to say God is able to do it because the story, it took 2 years for it to come to pass. Mm-hmm. 2 years is a long time for some situations. I just want you to just hang in there with God because there's much more to life than some of the things that we're worried about right now.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your story of hope. Lots of stories of hope, actually.
Mm-hmm. It's a pleasure to be here to be able to share.
Thank you.
Because we go through it differently.
Yes. Have a great night. Yeah. I appreciate how Lana shared tonight his story of hope. How even when him and his wife were told that they probably wouldn't have kids, they ended up having 3 beautiful children. I appreciate how he talked about gratitude and how in the midst of whatever we're going through, our circumstances, to have a heart of gratitude in the midst of it all. And an understanding that maybe our story, as difficult as it is, maybe we'll be able to share it with somebody else so that they don't feel like they're going through their stuff by themselves. So if you're anywhere in a place of maybe despair tonight, if you're feeling alone, I want to encourage you just to give us a call at this number. And feel free just to reach out. And reaching out is an action. And if you take that first step, there'll be somebody to greet you at the other end.